With SSI and TSR parting ways, Ravenloft will be one of the last AD&D products from that partnership. Good. It's obvious that SSI hasn't learned much since the Gold Box Age. I wanted to like Ravenloft, and I thought a change of locale might do the AD&D series good. But SSI keeps coming out with these half-good games, and this one is no exception.
I agree that it's about time SSI and TSR split. During the entire history of their partnership, I've thought that TSR's pencil and paper games have had a poor representation in the computer gaming world. I thought Eye of the Beholder was good, but that's it. You can tell that SSI is trying to improve their games just based on the amount of new stuff used here and there. Ravenloft has a little bit of everything, from the interaction of Eye of the Beholder to the Ultima Underworld graphics and interface. They've struggled to create the perfect adventure role-playing game, but they still have a ways to go.
Yeah, Ravenloft does seem like sort of a hodgepodge of features from other games. It's like SSI said, okay, we'll take the features that people didn't complain about in our other games, throw in some stuff that people like about Origins adventure games, and call it a new engine. The problem is, it doesn't work. I thought Ravenloft's graphics were pretty good. The game runs in 320 by 400 by 256 color mode, so it's at a higher resolution than most similar games. But even with good graphics, this game has one of the weakest intros I've seen in a CD-ROM game. The movement is choppy, the lip syncing and voice acting is pitiful, and it was barely enough plot to get you into the game. It definitely gets the game off to a weak start.
I disagree about the graphics. I think they were average at best. Ravenloft's 3D engine is just a clone of Underworld without the detail. As for the intro, that does suck. You'd think by now any cheapo company could at least produce a good intro, especially if it's on CD. Not this thrown together garbage. It looks like it's right off a 286 with 16 colors. The character generation is done very well. You get to create two characters from your usual race and class choices, with the ability to have some multi-class characters thrown in for diversity. Once the program rolls up your stats randomly, you can edit them to be whatever you want. Not such a hot idea. Excluding the edit option, this is easily my favorite part of the game.
I like the character generation too. The interface is designed like a tarot card reading, and that sets a good tone for the game, which is supposed to have a gothic mood. You can choose from a good selection of faces for your characters, but why are so many of the female portraits so porky? These are supposed to be adventurers, not housewives. And yeah, the edit feature that lets you max out your character's attributes is just plain stupid.
You begin the game by emerging into a forest, ordered to chase down a thief/assassin. You soon find him a short distance away. No problem, a few swings here and there, and the nasty thing is dead, with only minimal damage to yourself. But upon picking up the goodies left behind by the freshly slaughtered thief, a foul fog rolls in, transporting you to some other part of the map and leaving you without the goodies.
I thought that sequence was a good original way to start the game. Plus, it excuses the weak plot in the intro. You start out on a simple quest to retrieve Lord Delth's amulet, but suddenly you're transported to an unknown land. Somebody very powerful is obviously interested in you, but who and why? It's a good point to start from and really gets your attention. The combat system is similar to that of Ultima Underworld, but lacks the tactical element of that pioneer 3D game. Combat is in real time with the AD&D turn-based system used in the background to determine characters' speed with their weapons. Clicking on an enemy causes one of your characters to attack. It's simple and easy, but not any fun. You just keep clicking on a monster until it dies or you die, and that's the biggest problem I had with the game. Death. It happens too often. About 3/4 of my game was spent restoring games and retrying fights I'd lost. I think SSI needs to wake up. If they can't make a fun combat system, why do they insist on making all your AD&D games so combat intensive?
Actually, I kind of like the attack system. It's right out of Eye of the Beholder with full 360-degree movement and an everyone attack option thrown in for good measure. What I didn't like is that monsters can move off to your side and attack you several times before your mouse can activate to turn you. The control was maddening to say the least. And yes, the game is nearly impossible, even with super beefed up characters from using the crappy edit option.
Wake up and smell your party dying. Combat sucked, and it sucked hard. The only thing I liked about it was that the monsters circle behind you, although you're right that you turn way too slowly. I can't believe you liked the combat.
Maybe it's just because I'm god at it and you suck.
Yeah, that must be it.
There is one bright point to Ravenloft, the spell interface, another part taken right out of Eye of the Beholder. None of this rune crap or mixing dirt and herbs to create a spell. Just click on the name of the spell and voila, it's cast. All you have to do is memorize your spells, sleep on them a few hours, and you're ready to go. Screw using mana points.
The spell system is definitely one of the best points of the game. In fact, it's the only good part about the inventory system. Casting memorized spells is easy and quick in real-time combat, and that's the way it's gotta be. Your spellcasting characters have an icon between their hands on the main screen, and clicking on the spell icon brings up the list of the spells you have memorized, organized by levels. It's a good way to keep it simple and not leave the main menu. The thing I like best about Ravenloft is its handling of non-player characters. When you speak to an NPC, his or her dialogue is rendered in both text and digitized speech. Most of the NPC voice acting is a cut above the B-movie screen test delivery of the intro. Once in your party, an NPC functions the same as your regular party members. If you decide to dismiss NPCs from your party, they leave all the items they are carrying for you and usually tells you where it can be met up with again should you require its service at a later time. I think that's a big improvement over most other role players, which tend to treat dismissed NPCs as if they've dropped off the face of the earth.
I have to say that NPCs are not my favorite part of role-playing games. Getting information from them is okay, but having to drag them along with you just aggravates me. But you're right. If you're going to have NPCs, you might as well do them right. SSI has created a decent way to add non-player characters into the game without a hitch. Unfortunately, that's about all they got right. I think the thing I hated most was the inventory system. It may look nice, but boy is it a bitch to use. You can't just drop an item on your portrait. You have to go into your inventory screen and place it. And to use an item, you have to put it in your hand, exit the inventory screen, then click on it. If you're going to use a number of items on and off, you're bound to get really sick of this.
I know exactly what you mean. You'd think that if SSI was going to copy Underworld's main view screen, they'd model the inventory system after it as well. It takes so many mouse clicks and screen switches to perform simple tasks like picking up loot that you just end up getting frustrated with the game. And why can you only look into a container if it's in your left hand? Why doesn't your right hand work? The inventory screen looks like a cute little dress-up game with medieval Ken dolls, but it's just a major pain in the ass.
If you haven't guessed by now, my opinion of this game is not good. Don't be fooled by my trashing of Ravenloft, though. Some parts of the game are actually enjoyable, and it did get those Eye of the Beholder juices flowing. Maybe someday SSI will create a decent role player, but for the time being, Westwood Studios, take me away.
You said it. Ravenloft is the least playable AD&D game yet. Even though the engine is a poor clone, I would have enjoyed playing the game through to the end if the combat system and inventory systems were workable. The game has some strong points, but they're totally buried in crud.
How many tries does it take to make a good AD&D game? More than SSI will get.
I hope TSR takes a good look at where SSI succeeded and where they failed. There's a couple of good points in each of their games, but it's never quite enough. In Ravenloft's case, it wasn't enough by a long shot. What do you think, Garth?
I think I'm gonna hurl, man.